Alabama passes a law that makes it a felony, but basically outlaws trans people under the age of 19. Alabama law that's according to Reuters 2 days ago. An Alabama law that makes it a felony to provide gender-affirming medical treatment, any type of treatment, to transgender youth went into effect on Sunday, while a federal judge weighs whether to grant a motion to put a temporary hold on it. So in other words, it's happening, but they're going to ruminate on it. Legislation makes it a crime, punishable by up to 10 years in prison, to provide puberty blockers, hormones, and medical procedures to transgender youth under the age of 19.
This is targeting the medical providers in a unique way. I think there are other, of course, anti-trans Republican bills, but this is what makes it distinct. This is also, them borrowing from the abortion movement, or anti-abortion movement.
And let's be clear. Gender reassignment surgery for kids under the age of 18, extremely rare, would only take place after years of treatment where the patient is relentless in their wishes. Very, very, very rare. And obviously, a decision that's made between healthcare people and parents and child.
They want to get it between you and your doctor. Yeah, and just to clarify even what you're saying there, Sam, like, yes, that's very rare for an underage kid, but this is meant to target all gender-affirming care, which means, I'm not sure if you clarified this just before, but hormones, et cetera.
Yes.
Treatment.
Oh, yeah. Puberty blockers, hormones, any type of, anything. Anything. Somebody just IM'd that we should have Chase Strangio on again, and we will. But I just want to read some of this from a Journal of American Medicine, JAMA, mental health outcomes in transgender and non-binary youth receiving gender-affirming care. Key points. Question: is gender-affirming care for transgender and non-binary youths associated with changes in depression, anxiety, and suicidality? The findings in this prospective cohort of 104 transgender, non-binary youths aged 13 to 20 years, receipt of gender-affirming care, including puberty blockers and gender-affirming hormones, was associated with 60% lower odds of moderate or severe depression and 73% lower odds of suicidality over a 12-month follow-up. The study found that access to gender-affirming care was associated with mitigation of mental health disparities among trans and non-binary youth over the course of a year. Given this population's high rates of adverse mental health outcomes, these data suggest that access to pharmacological interventions may be associated with improved mental health among trans and non-binary youth over a short period. GMB youth are disproportionately burdened by poor mental health outcomes owing to decreased social support and increased stigma and discrimination. Although gender-affirming care is associated with decreased long-term adverse mental health outcomes among these youths, less is known about its association with mental health immediately after the initiation of care. So this is just trying to look in the first year, because we already know long-term it has positive outcomes in terms of mental health. And now we also know short-term, as defined by 12 months. Significantly.
And in terms of long-term, a study came out either last week or the week before that of these kids that were studied, it was hundreds of trans kids that were studied undergoing hormone therapy, only 2.5% of those kids went back to their initial gender, not their chosen gender, during a 5-year period. So this hormone therapy is not just helpful for mental health, but it's also consistent with what these children are designating as their gender identity and helpful in that regard. Like, listen to children, listen to their feelings and respect it, because it's coming from an authentic place.
The point being that this Alabama law will undoubtedly lead to to both more depression amongst these children and youth, and probably more suicides. On top of which, the law, even if it didn't have the material impact that it has, which we know mitigates suicidal thoughts and depression and suicides, it also adds to the stigma. So it's working on both ends.
That's the point.
It's working on both ends. It's signaling to everyone being transgender is wrong, and it's also denying those people the care they need. It's disgusting. And it's just the beginning.
The cruelty, the discipline, that is the primary function of this. They want to make it as hostile of an environment as possible to be different. And if kids die in the process, that's kind of the point, isn't it, for them?
And and obscuring that path that's leading kids to better mental health by suggesting that everyone has some sort of like mind virus and is being like groomed towards that. It's super despicable.
It's just gaslighting these kids, right? If you make this decision, imagine, I can't even fathom the tolls that takes when society basically tells you the way that you're feeling, that's only the result of you being groomed by a malevolent force, and it's you're wrong.